Stop calling yourself an anxious person. Don't identify with those thoughts anymore. What you focus on expands and grows, and we want the good to grow in our life. Whenever I'm feeling anxious, it's because I'm feeling that there's something out of my control that I can't do anything about. Step into the version of you that has the capacity and the bravery to take on your fears, who can let go of anxiety because they know that they're capable. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Off Brand Bubbly. I want to talk to you about how to be generally a less anxious person, and if you feel that you're anxiously attached, to heal that emotional attachment style. I don't typically come off as a very anxious person to people. I've been told that I actually project being a very confident person, but anxiety in relationships and anxiety during times when I feel stressed is definitely something I struggle with. Today I'm going to give you my top tips on how to be a less anxious person so you can be braver to build the life of your dreams. The first thing I want you guys to do is to relabel that feeling of anxiety as fear. I think fear is a much easier emotion to cope with than anxiety because anxiety feels like a state that we can't do much about. But if we're afraid of something, there's a lot that's in our power to make us feel braver. Once you recognize anxiety as fear, take some time in your journal or just thinking through why you feel afraid in that scenario. Fear usually has something underneath it, so whatever is coming up in your emotional body in that fear, write it down, get it out of your head, and try to find ways in which you can empower yourself to be more courageous to face those fears. Don't let your fears control you. You're bigger than them. Whenever I'm feeling anxious, it's because I'm feeling that there's something out of my control that I can't do anything about. If I'm afraid of the future, afraid of failing, afraid of rejection, afraid of being judged, afraid of not being enough, the list goes on and on. Be brave enough to take on your fears and to face them and to think really deeply about what makes you feel empowered. You need to put in your toolbox things that will give you the courage to step into the version of you that has the capacity and the bravery to take on your fears, who can let go of anxiety because they know that they're capable. Acting as if and practicing being the dream version of yourself. So if you want to be a more secure, less anxious person, you have to act as a more secure, less anxious person for your body and your nervous system to get used to acting in that way. You're kind of training your body to be the person you want to be. You have to think about how a secure person would react to this, and to the best of your ability at the time, act as a secure person. And over time, you will be more and more secure. You'll have to think less about how I should act, and you'll just begin to act as a secure person. You have to constantly expose yourself to scenarios where you're stressed or you could be experiencing anxiety, so your body gets training and learning how to be less anxious. One of the books I really suggest you guys read if you want to learn more how to use physical tools to step into a different embodied version of yourself is The Alter Ego Effect. In this book, they talk all about how to create a new persona for yourself to help step into the character traits that you want to embody. So if you know someone who's really confident and who you really admire, you can wear a certain sweater, a shirt, maybe sunglasses that remind you of them to help you kind of put on the act and play as if. Next thing I want you to do is to change your identity. Stop calling yourself an anxious person. Don't identify with those thoughts anymore. The more that you think, oh, I'm an anxious person, oh, I have anxiety, the more you will make that reality true. Enough of that. Stop thinking of yourself as an anxious person and instead think about the woman that you want to be and focus on bringing her closer to reality. What you focus on expands and grows, and we want the good to grow in our life. Another way to change your identity is through doing things like scripting, affirmations, journaling, and doing exercises that help change the internal story in your mind. Everyone tells a story about themselves in their mind all the time, and we build ourselves out of that story. So the way that you think about yourself and the thoughts that you have a huge impact on your reality. That story isn't static. You can change that story to better suit your goals and your vision and your personal well-being. One of my favorite exercises for changing your own internal dialogue is found in Lady Balls, which I think this title is just hilarious, very catchy for sure. This is one of the best inner work books I found in a really long time. There's so many good exercises in here to help you grow and learn and become the woman of your dreams. Her 6-step process helps you to rewire the negative thought patterns that you're having in your brain. And anxiety, I believe, is just another one of those negative thought patterns. Take some time to journal on these steps. I have used the 6-step process to rewire my thought patterns for tons of different issues to help me believe that I'm a person who is brave and capable and has the courage to take on the challenges of the day. Definitely check this out. I'll leave all of her information linked below. The next step on how to be a less anxious person is to have some self-respect. Set some boundaries. Make sure that you're acting in your self-interest before you help anyone else. Fill up your own cup before you go around filling up everyone else's. I often feel most anxious when physically I'm not at my best. When I'm not sleeping well, when I'm not eating well, when my body isn't at its best, I sometimes don't feel that I have the capacity to take on life. That's just a physiological response that we can sometimes feel tired and wired and tapped out if we're not getting enough sleep, for example. If I've had enough sleep, I've eaten well that day, taken time for my personal care activities, I automatically feel like my capacity is higher. Take care of yourself, your well-being comes first, and to the greatest extent possible, put your needs before other people so that you can give to the world and also so that you have the capacity to take on the bigger challenges you'll face throughout the day. Also, if you tend to be more of a people pleaser, I know that can be really hard to set boundaries in your self-interest, but just knowing that you can better give to others if you're better taking care of yourself helps me to make boundaries or decisions to take care of myself and not overextend myself for others. In the state of an overextension, when I'm giving from an empty cup, I'm not at my best and I can tend to get resentful, etc., etc. Okay, the next step I have for you is to identify the root cause. I've always been a bit more anxious and pent up than other people that I know. I'm not naturally a go with the flow kind of woman. I think there are scenarios in my life that have caused me to be more anxious in relationships, for example. Knowing that there are certain people and things in my life that have happened that have caused scars on my psyche, that have caused me to be more anxious now, helps me to work through them a little bit and be kinder to myself. Definitely take time to recognize why you might be feeling more anxious in a scenario than your friend or something. We've all been through a lot, so just know that we will have to do a lot of healing on this journey we call life. I definitely want to create another video on how to heal from past wounds, but just know that you have to be kind to your past self. You're no longer the woman that you used to be when you had that traumatic, anxiety-provoking experience. You've grown and learned a lot since then. Try to speak to yourself as if you're a small child. You deserve that kindness too, not just your friends or people you're looking after. Final thing that I want to make sure that you spend some time on is to praise progress and not perfection. You'll never be perfect. Take it from a straight A overachiever. The bar of perfection always moves. Every time you feel yourself getting closer and closer to that idea of perfection, you'll find yourself changing and growing and moving and adjusting the goal as you go. Constantly trying to be perfect in every scenario will cause you to feel like you're failing if you don't feel like you did things perfectly. On a journey of self-growth and learning, praise progress because that's actually showing you that you're growing and improving. You'll be closer and closer to your dream as you grow, but the dream changes. So you're never going to be perfect because you're human, and you never really reach that ideal goal because it's not a static thing. As you're trying to be a more secure person, there will be moments where you feel like you step back as you're trying to move forward. It's a process, and as you train your body to be more secure, you'll get better at it, but it's not going to happen overnight. The more you try, the more you're growing, you're changing, the more you're progressing, and praise yourself for that progress. Don't just aim for perfection because you'll always fall short, and I want you to feel like you have the capacity to be better, and you do. So long as you believe that progress is winning, you'll feel empowered to do more. So that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for joining me. I know that anxiety in relationships and at work has caused me a lot of strife and a lot of stress and has been hard for me to emotionally walk through. If you want more tips and tricks on how to be less anxious, definitely subscribe and I'll make another video about it. If anything has helped you, write it in the comment section below. Have fun and remember to praise progress, not perfection.